This week on the WriterCon podcast.
So I'm going to quote Roy T. Bennett that says, "Never stop dreaming, never stop believing, never give up, never stop trying, and never stop learning."
Welcome to WriterCon, a gathering place for writers to share their knowledge about writing and the writing world. Do you have a desire to write? Every successful writer started with their first book. All it takes is determination and knowledge, and WriterCon can provide that knowledge. Your hosts are #1 national best-selling writer William Bernhardt, author of more than 60 books, including The Superman Wars, and Lara Bernhardt, award-winning author of the Wantland Files series and Shadow of the Taj.
Thank you, Jesse Ulrich. Hey there, writers. Thanks for joining us. This is our first February episode of the new year. So it's tempting to talk about Valentine's Day, but we already talked about Christmas gifts and what to give your writer friends. So I'm going to skip that and instead talk about the much more down and dirty topic of the Anthorpic lawsuit, which we've covered over and over again on this show. This is a company that allegedly downloaded books from inappropriate sources and then scanned them to train their AI. And they're supposed to be paying a huge settlement to writers someday, but the deadlines have been extended. So, listeners, if you've written a book that might have been scanned, there are websites you can go to check it out. And if your book is on the list, you should file a claim while you still have time. I've done it 27 times now, and you can tell too. I hope it eventually comes to something. Lara, did any of your books turn up on the list?
Every one of them, all 7.
Yep. Did you file a claim?
I did, but later we talked about how you had to have officially sent in money and filed your copyright claim with it. And I am irritated by that because the copyright exists regardless. And so I think it should extend to everybody who was wronged by this AI training.
The 2 wrinkles that have come out, I don't recall if we discussed this in a news item, but first, you have to have filed for, with the U.S. Copyright Office, which almost nobody who's self-published does. Even some small publishers don't mess with that anymore. But on the other hand, if you had a traditional publisher, then you're probably going to have to share the booty with them. And then there's also legal fees and other things that'll take a cut. Jesse, is this just making you glad you never wrote a book?
Listen, and every industry is having their fights with AI. I'm fighting also for the fact of it hasn't happened to me yet, but in groups I'm in, they've talked about how people have just decided to use AI to edit their podcasts and have stopped paying their editors. And I'm like, good luck to those people. But they're coming for everybody. But I'm happy I don't have to fill out paperwork to fix a wrong that was done against me without my consent.
Right. All right. Our interview today is with Mark McCraw. Mark is a former Air Force veteran and the author of 12 children's books, wonderful books, including Did You Come Home for Lunch and a bunch more. We're going to talk to him about that and much more. But first, the news. News item number 1, Substack is coming to television. Substack, as some of you probably know, is a home and distributor for newsletters, including, I might add, the extraordinarily wonderful WriterCon newsletter, which is free. Go to Substack. You can sign up for it any time. But that's not what this news story is supposed to be about. They're branching out into television. They've got a new Substack app, which you can download just like you might download the Netflix app or YouTube, which is what I think they're really going for. It works with Apple TV. It works with Google TV. And now they're trying to get people to submit thought-provoking videos and live streams, things that sort of belong on TV. And let's face it, things that are all over the place at YouTube, which is now huge. More people watch YouTube than watch network television, right? I mean, and so it makes sense that they would try and get a piece of that action. I don't know if it's possible to compete with Apple TV, I suppose, with YouTube, I mean. I suppose ultimately it just depends on how good the content is. I don't know. Jesse, I mean, it sounds to me anyway like they're trying to create a YouTube alternative. You think it's going to happen?
I think there is a niche need for something that is a little more curated than YouTube is. Because YouTube is everything. It is, I'm trying to search for one thing and I end up getting distracted by a video on a completely other thing.
It's worse. It's like crack television.
Yeah.
You watch one and you can't stop.
Yes. Like, there's a reason why I don't open the TikTok app on my phone. Like I have things to do. I do think that this sort of goes along with like Netflix getting into like video podcasts, where I'm like, these things, they're not TV shows, and they're specifically designed to not be TV shows, yet we're going to present them as TV shows now, which I feel like there is a correction that's going to need to be done of people's either expectations or how they're marketed. But I do think there is there's a place for something, especially with like Vimeo going bankrupt. There is a place for more curated video content. So,
yeah. Yeah, and by curated, you mean like somebody's in charge of making sure it's all decent?
Well, yeah, like so in this case, Substack is the one who's, yes. I mean, I imagine there's some sort of approval process where not just or even if anyone can post something to Substack TV, when you go to the Substack TV app, I imagine there's going to be some sort of algorithmic thing of using your own Substack information to then show you what Substack TV thinks you want to watch.
Right. Lara, we watch YouTube videos sometimes, not too often, but when there's a gap between watching Jeopardy and eating dinner, sometimes I'll pull up YouTube. You think you'd ever watch this Substack TV stuff?
Maybe. Probably depends on what they've got. I think I'm too old to be part of their target audience. I don't watch a whole lot of YouTube either, but we do know people who watch YouTube instead of watching TV. Like, you talk to the younger generation about watching TV, or talk to them about cable, or how we used to watch shows, and they just kind of glaze over and look at you blankly because YouTube has kind of stepped in and taken that place. So it depends. It depends on what they have there. I mean, who could have predicted that YouTube would take off like that? And now we've got people with millions and millions of followers even creating and distributing their own movie because of the success that they've had there. So
this is a reference to Iron Lung, which came from a Google movie maker who's gotten his movie in theaters, right?
Yep.
Which we saw last night for your birthday.
Totally my idea. Yeah, so I think it could take off. Who knows? And it depends on what's there. And I mean, I've really recently gotten into crime podcasts, and I hadn't really been listening to that much. So
anything's possible.
Yeah.
Okay. News story number 2. This has to do with Scandinavian authors, but for once it's not about depressing mystery stories. It's Scandinavia is also giving us autofiction. Let me explain what that is. In recent years, books that are, primarily autobiographical, but also include fictional elements, not unlike what in America we might call creative nonfiction, but it's become a distinct and popular genre in Scandinavia. It's an area that kind of crosses borders. And in Norway and Sweden, apparently, it is called reality literature, or sometimes witness literature. But in Denmark, it's called autofiction. So if any of this has something in common, It's the idea of trying to use both nonfiction and fiction to get closer to the truth. Some of it based on fact and some of it based on feeling. So they're not exactly memoirs, but they are very popular in Scandinavia. And, I've been working on a nonfiction book, and if there's anything I can tell you, it's that memory is fallible. But I don't fill in the gaps with my imagination. I dig harder and find out what's really happening. But these authors are coming up with something that they say is just as truthful as fact, and yet it tells a version of the truth. Lara, you're overdue for writing a memoir. You think you might try something like this?
If I thought anyone wanted to read about my life is actually a little bit like a soap opera.
Read it. Jesse, won't you read her? See?
If you hear about all the messiness that came along the way, it does kind of sound like a soap opera. But a version of the truth, I think if I was writing a memoir, I would just write what happened. Like a fictionalized version of,
Yeah, I don't understand how this is different from just like nonfiction. Because again, even nonfiction, like it's still someone's perspective on the research they've done. Like nothing is 100% the truth.
Right. Well,
I get what you're saying, where you may remember things differently than what someone else did.
I never assumed someone's memoir is 100% accurate.
But to intentionally write, so then as everyone's reading it, they have to wonder, now, is this the real part, or is this the part where she made some stuff up to make it spicy?
Yeah. I think the idea is to get away from just, here are the facts, here are the historical documents, here are the eyewitnesses, and imagine things to try and get at a deeper truth.
I don't think in this time of, differing news sources and the inability to tell real from AI, that we need another category.
That's
a confusing category about what's real, what's not.
This will be heartfelt news or something like that.
Heartfelt, quasi-true.
Yeah. And listen, Scandinavians do know how to be happy, so maybe they're onto something here. They do always win that.
That is true.
So
I'm not
maybe
trying.
I'm wrong.
I think
I'm wrong, but this feels like it just adds more confusion.
Yeah, maybe I'm not quite getting it. We should try reading. I need to try reading one. That's what I
need an example.
I need to read one and better understand it, and then I'll know.
All right. Well, Jesse, what about, let's assume it's somebody whose memoir you'd be interested in.
Yes.
Brandon Sanderson.
Yes.
Who, speaking of Apple TV, as you and I talked about earlier, he's just made this killer deal with Apple TV in which he's going to write, he's going to direct, he's going to produce, he's going to be all over the adaptations of his show, which is very promising, but not really my question. My question was, let's say he wrote this autofiction, which is sort of a blend of what really happened, what didn't. Would you read it?
Yeah, I think this is just one of those things where it needs to be made clear to us, the reader, what it is.
Yeah.
And if it's not just 100% memoir, we just need to know. So, but.
Well, what was the guy's name? James Frey, who got into trouble for passing off something that purported to be nonfiction or memoir and turned out to be mostly invented.
Autofiction? Was he the first autofiction writer?
I don't know if there was enough heart in it, but it was definitely not true, although he still made a fortune off it.
Yeah, who's going to judge that? Who's the heart monitor for autofiction?
All right, let's move on to Craft Corner, which this time is coming to us from our friend of the podcast, J.D. Caine. You may remember, if you've been listening to the podcast a while, that we shared an episode of the podcast she does with her friends called Unfreaking Believable. She's also the author of 7 books, including the Manifest Destiny fantasy series, which she co-writes with another frequent contributor to Craft Corner, Betsy Kulikowski. The second book, just recently released, is called The Night Doctor's Blade. And appropriately enough, she'll be talking to you about how to scare your readers. Take it away, J.D. Caine.
Craft Corner.
Thanks, Bill. Hi, I'm JB Caine. I'm a multi-genre author and co-host of the Unfreaking Believable podcast with Betsy Kulikowski and Jenny Simard-LaBranche, and I've written a variety of short stories and novels that explore fear in a lot of different ways, from gothic folk horror to paranormal to horror comedy. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about how horror works and how you can use some of those same tools to scare your readers. We all love a scary story. Horror's been around forever. It's one of the best-selling genres in books and film, one of the easiest kinds of screenplays to sell, and one of the most universal forms of storytelling we have. But here's the thing. Horror isn't just about monsters or blood or jump scares. At its core, horror works because it taps into fears we already carry with us. The most effective horror stories are built on primordial fears, the kinds of fears humans have had since long before we've had the language for them. Fear of death, fear of darkness, fear of predators, fear of isolation, fear of losing control of our bodies, our minds, our choices. When you're writing horror, you don't have to invent a new fear. You just have to aim the story at the one your reader already understands on a gut level. Horror works on different levels. Sometimes it is a jump scare, fast, loud, shocking. Sometimes it's a slow burn that creeps under the reader's skin and stays there. Sometimes it's just pure atmosphere, that feeling that something is wrong, even if you can't quite tell why. And pacing is everything. Short sentences speed up the heart rate. Longer ones let dread seep in. And one of the most powerful tricks in horror, make the safe unsafe. A home, a school, a familiar street. When those places turn hostile, the reader loses their sense of security right along with their characters. Here's the secret most new writers miss. Horror only works if we care about the characters. We're not scared because something bad happens. We're scared because something bad happens to someone we've connected with. If your reader doesn't care who's in danger, then the monster doesn't matter. Let's talk tropes. Horror tropes exist for a reason. The abandoned place, the cursed object, the feeling of being watched, the monster that won't stay dead. I'll be right back. These aren't cliches if you understand why they work. Tropes are shortcuts into fear. They tap into the expectations your reader already has. Your job isn't to avoid them. It's to twist them just enough to surprise us. Writing horror isn't just about shocking your audience. It's about understanding fear, where it comes from, how it builds, and how it lingers. If you can tap into something primal, control your pacing, make the familiar dangerous, and ground it all in characters that we care about, you won't just scare your readers. You'll haunt them. And honestly, that's kind of the goal. Back to you, Bill.
Thank you, J.D. Caine. And remember, she's the author of the Manifest Destiny series, the most recent volume of which is The Night Doctor's Blade. All right, now let's talk to Mark McCraw. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Okay, traditional first question. If you could offer writers one piece of advice, what would it be?
So I'm going to quote Roy T. Bennett that says, never stop dreaming, never stop believing, never give up, never stop trying, and never stop learning.
That pretty much covers it all. That's
It does. It's really good advice. Although maybe some days it's harder to get yourself to keep believing. But yes, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, that imposter syndrome gets you all the time.
Oh my goodness, it sure does. Yeah. Well, tell us how you got started writing.
I started writing in 2020. I actually, it had been 15 years prior to that. I was a teacher's aide, and I had seen a lot of authors come into the school, and I started asking questions and, went on with life and did other jobs like in corrections and into education and things like that. And I was a pastor for a while and just done a lot of different kind of jobs in nonprofit. And I started thinking, I have all these stories that I've had with my children, with my grandchildren. Being in the military, I'm an Air Force veteran, Air Force Reserve veteran. And I said, I just got these stories. Why don't I start writing? So I started in the beginning of 2020 with Did You Come Home for Lunch, which is a military dependent story about a boy and her boy's father goes on temporary duty. And when he comes home, the little boy says, "Did you come home for lunch?" And he'd been gone for like 2 weeks. The little boy was only 3 years old. So that's kind of how that started out. I wanted to write in my niche of military dependence and started writing a couple of those, and then went on to use my elementary experience, my children and grandchildren's experiences, and just started writing theme-related books, which has been very helpful for the schools and daycares because the principals and daycare directors can ask me for the themes and I can provide those to them.
Fascinating. So when you started talking about all of your work experience, I thought, this sounds like really heavy material. I'm curious why you were more drawn to the children's books than maybe writing for adults. I think you've started touching on that, but could you maybe expand on that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. I've been dealing with children ever since I was 13. I've through summer camps and counselors and things of that nature. Because not only was I in education, I was an elementary school teacher, but I also taught Migrant Head Start. I've worked with infants all the way up to college students, but I preferred to write for the kindergarten to fifth grade. That was my prime area that I wanted to have some books out on, and I've written 12 books, and now I'm in my 4th anthology, so I'm really excited about that. And I'm working on a book 13 with another author out of Moore, Oklahoma, who actually is we're working on a bullying book, and we both have been former 2nd grade teachers.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Impressive. So for you, what comes first? Do you write the script first, or the story portion of your book, and then someone else illustrates for you, or how do you go about that?
I go with a title. I find a catchy title, and then I build my story around that title. And basically, I just start pre-writing. When I get these ideas, I text myself. It might be dialogue that I'll text myself throughout the year, maybe with children and grandchildren. I try to dedicate. Not all my books are like that, but I try to dedicate each book to a child or grandchild that I have. And I've got two new ones two new babies coming this year, grandbabies. So I got to get busy thinking about in the future about writing some more books to dedicate to them. So I'll be looking for their characteristics and that kind of thing. But and that's how I do it. I put them in folders, and I put them up on the wall in a file folder holder. And I just move from book to book, and I just go back and after I've pre-written and do the normal writing process with the revising and the drafting and all that, and that's how I do it.
So what's your goal with these books? I mean, I think you're making that clear, and we shouldn't be surprised given that you've been in the Air Force, but you've also been a teacher. Are you looking for books to be instructive or educational, something like that?
Well, my mantras are very simple: literacy, learning, and legacy. Those are the 3 things that I focus on the most. In addition to, I want to make a difference in the lives of children. I've over the years, I've had a lot of different children who have written cards and letters, and oftentimes I'll go back and look in a book that I have that with all these little things, and I start to think and wonder, how are they today? What are they doing today? And sometimes these are 30 and 40 years of different kinds of materials that they've provided to me, and I just enjoy doing that. I enjoy going into schools and daycares. I've read to over 1,000 students. I'm getting ready to do World Read Aloud Day on February 4th to an elementary school in Texas, and so I'm really excited about that. And I just enjoy doing that and seeing the children's face light up. And a lot of daycares, they've never seen an author, so it's kind of cute to go in and talk to the little kids. Yeah.
Yes.
That's got to be fantastic. You were talking about illustrators with Lara. Do you have any role in that? Have you selected your illustrators, or how how's the pairing occur?
Okay, so I don't do the illustrations or the formatting or any of that. I have other people that do that. I try to vet my illustrators. I find them. I have one on that was on TikTok, Artful Alley, who wrote or helped illustrate Babbling Betty, and she's currently working on the bullying book right now for me. And my daughter has illustrated. I also have had other illustrators. I had a Ukrainian illustrator, Iris Davidinko, who's done 3 of my books. One of them was It Happens, and Nikolai Pikolai was another one. And then there was another one that she did as well. So, Anna's Amazing Alaskan Adventure. So she's done 3 of my books as an illustrator. And there's so many scams out there, so you got to be very careful. So that's why I make sure I vet the illustrators.
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad to hear you're mindful of that. And honestly, I think that's very interesting. I think in my mind, I had just kind of assumed that you had linked up with somebody and that you guys were just working as a team now, but you're describing having different illustrators for different projects. Is it a style that you're looking for when you look for an illustrator, or how do you decide on that?
Just decide on how they work, the reviews, things of that nature. I look into that through personal connections. My wife was part of a group that I ran into an illustrator and started watching this illustrator, and this illustrator was really good, had not really done any children's books, and then began to do Babbling Betty for me and opened up a lot of doors for her as far as illustrations and portfolios and things of that nature. And then she went on to do other illustrations and for other authors. So I was really excited about that. Now there was one at the very beginning that took 9 months to go through Archway Publishing, and I provided the illustration department the ideas that I wanted to have in the book with a military person and the kind of way that I wanted to do it. And I also put myself in the book as a military person, and I kind of wait and see when I read the book to see if the children realize that it's actually me in the book. So that, like, who in the room is who's in this room is in this book, and then they kind of look around and they're all looking at each other, and I said, and then one little boy go, "It's you," so that's kind of a neat thing.
How fun. I love that. That's so neat. It worked out so well for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you're talking about going to schools and reading, but how do you promote children's books? It seems to me, I've thought about writing children's books before, but it just seems like it would be so daunting to break into that and then to connect with your audience and promote and get them out there. And surely these babies in preschool and elementary school aren't on social media, I hope, yet, which is a way a lot of authors are connecting with their readers. So how do you do that?
It's really about relationships and really being an advocate for yourself, calling the daycares, contacting them, or being referred from one daycare director to the other, or getting a reference from one where you've done an event and then going on and having it, got a reference for the next event and that kind of thing. So I do a lot of promotions and, of course, on social media. I have worldwide distribution in over 22 different countries. And so it's constantly making a dent in it every day, and just trying to be involved with writing groups and things of that nature, and getting myself out there and events, especially because one of the things Simon & Schuster editors and publishers and things of that nature said in New York City in 2023 when I was there, in Times Square for a publishing conference, one of the things says they don't know who you are until they know who you are.
That's true. Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's really about, getting in there, and getting out in the public.
Doing this for yourself. Wow. Well done. Good job. Do you find that it's harder to write for children than for adults? Have you tried? I mean, I've thought about writing children's books, but again, I think that it would be harder. What do you think?
It can be hard. I mean, you've obviously got it to make sure that it's on the readability. That's important, making sure that that's not too wordy, but and depending on the group of children that you're dealing with, as you know, reading levels are very difficult to determine sometimes. And when I say that, I mean, you can test a child and find out what readability they're on, but you've got so many children that are not on grade level, and then you've got some that are on grade level. So you kind of, when you're trying to figure out a readability, it sometimes can be very challenging because
True. Yeah.
because some are reading in more advanced and some are not reading advanced, and that's always the challenge, is making it not too adult wordy and that kind of thing, and trying to narrow it down with illustrations. And I'm a very visual person. Even on chapter books, I like to and I've got a few of small chapter books that are not very lengthy at all, and I try to throw some pictures in and stuff like that because I'm very visual.
Wow. Am I right in thinking you've published 12 children's books?
Yes, 12 children's books, and the 4th anthology is getting ready to go on to Amazon pretty soon. It's Flash Fiction is actually the one that I'm in right now. It's just it's getting ready to go to get published.
Fantastic. Okay, tough question. Which one's your favorite? Pick your favorite child.
My favorite. Oh, yeah. My favorite book is actually, it always changes for me because I like them all. But Nikolai Piccoli.
I saw that.
And it's a book. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I just prepping for the interview, I saw that and I thought that looked really interesting. You've got a co-writer, or maybe that was just the artist's name I saw on it.
That's actually a co-writer. Nikolai Piccoli is actually a book that was written by a 10-year-old, and I, both of us collaborated on the way we wanted the illustrations, working on trying to get the 10-year-old, which was actually my grandson, and to actually learn how to do a bio for the back and all of that kind of thing. And he was actually on a podcast, but we only did it by audio and not by video. So it was. And what's really exciting about Nikolai Piccoli is it was actually read on TikTok by a lady by the name of Ursula, and she actually was in a movie. And so she actually, my wife had sent the book to her, and she actually read it with piccolo earrings on and everything, and actually read it on TikTok. So I was excited about that. But
we love
fun. Well, of course, that's your favorite.
And I'm having fun with it. I've got pickle pins, I've got pickle stickers, and all kinds of pickle
branding
stuff. You know, yeah.
Good for you. All right. One last question. I mean, you've mentioned your anthologies, but what else? What books? What can we look forward to seeing from you in the future?
Well, like I said, we're in the second part of our revising of the illustrations, so you can look forward to a bullying book that's going to come out. And I actually had a principal when I did an event on October 31st. I dressed up like a composition notebook and had a big giant pencil and everything attached to my composition notebook. And everybody's like, "What are you?" And they like, "I'm a composition notebook. I'm a writer," and all that stuff. And it was exciting that the kids got to see this. But you know, it's really cool because it's opened up so many doors. I'm in a vending machine right now with an elementary school, which I donate some books to, and so I'm excited about that. I'm a Kiwanis member. I do a lot with literacy with that side of the house, but you can look forward to some really cool books. I've got some in the hopper. I just want to get them out, and of course, as you know, it takes time to go through the illustration process. So we've been going on for about 4 or 5 months on illustrations, and so I'm looking at it, really excited to see it coming out. So one of the principals that I did the event, she said, "Okay, when you got it, come, let's do another event with us, and you can talk to the kids about bullying."
Oh, fantastic! Way to go!
Thank you.
Well, this has been a pleasure. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Just one parting thought in conclusion. This will probably be the last time I'll get to mention the WriterCon Cruise on this podcast anyway, because registration shut down sometime in mid to late February. So if you're thinking about it, don't delay. Go do it. We have such a good time, and you will also find it, I think, to be a rewarding educational experience that advances your writing career. It's 8 days. We fly out of Fort Lauderdale, beautiful scenery, plus 3 different writers on board to teach, plus an agent who is willing to meet with everyone on board to chat or hear your pitches or whatever you want to do. For that matter, I'll sit and chat with everyone on board. Even if we don't have an appointment, we all dine together every evening. So it really is a unique opportunity. You've done every one of these, Lara. You enjoy the cruises, don't you?
We're going to all new destinations this time. So even though we've done the cruises before, this is going to be all new. And I am so excited to see the places that we're going. I love to see different parts of the world. And I am also really excited to meet our group and see who we're going to be working with. People have consistently been blown away and just can't say enough about what a good time they have on these cruises. We work hard, yes. So come ready to write and advance that work in progress, but we play hard too. We have fun. We have, like you mentioned, we have our dinners together. So we get to visit and chat, and we just have a good time.
Probably should have mentioned that we have all these classes over 20 hours, but that's when the boat is at sea. We'll give you a break when the boat's in port. I know you want to go on excursions and stuff, and that's fine. But rest of the time, well, I mean, we may be on board reading your work, but you can go off the boat and go check out the sites.
But I might need to pet a capybara. So about that. I don't know. I want to see.
The dates are March 7th through the 15th. Check out the WriterCon website, which is just what it sounds like, WriterCon.com, and find out more information. Get the complete itinerary, register, pick your room, everything you need to do there, all right? Until next time, writers, keep writing. And remember, you cannot fail if you refuse to quit. All right? See you next time.